please introduce yourself.
Well, I'm Jeri Salter. I'm from Austin, Texas, and I'm a pastel artist, primarily Southwest art, Southwest landscapes. Well, I mean, if you really want to say, I started with pencils when I was a teenager or kid, and then acrylics a little bit, and then oils. And then I had a neighbor that introduced me to pastels, and then that was it. So I've been painting in pastels ever since. Just classes here and there, a lot of workshops, but I didn't get a degree or anything like that. Just kind of picked up stuff along the way. And first of all, the first ranch we went to was the X-Bar and the Forrest family, and Mary had met them because they bought one of her paintings and suggested she come out, and she did. And she was like, well, can I bring my friends next time? Yeah, bring everybody. And they were the most generous people. We had so much fun with them. That's another great thing about this project is we've met, just wonderful people. And the Hart Ranch, I already knew Pam Hart and Will Hart, so that was easy and fun and great to be with them. And then the Hershey Ranch was Andy Sampson's ranch, which is a official conservation ranch, and he's the one doing the book. And he and his wife are just lovely, wonderful people. So it's been great being able to interact with them and just spend time with them. They've become our friends, so if they weren't already. So we were just 4 friends that were painting together, and we were already painting in 2 different ranches, and we thought, well, we could just do 4 by 4 artists and 4 ranches. It just kind of evolved, just sitting around chatting about it. Next thing, and then we proposed it to Sarah Foltz, and she loved the idea, and it just kind of went from there. We've been going to these ranches for several years, but I think we've mostly been painting seriously this year because we've all had so many other projects going on. So you get ideas, but if you're in the middle of something else, you can't just drop that and move on. So I think we painted some the first year, maybe, but most of it's been this past year. I love them. I love all 3 of them. They're my very dear friends, and was the main reason for doing all of this, was that I just like hanging out with them. We crack each other up and have fun, and can talk about serious things, can talk about silly things. We accept each other for how we are. We're just comfortable together. You don't find that everywhere. So when you find it, you gotta hang on to it. I just look at what appeals to me, what grabs my attention, and it could be, well, I love the golden hour, and so that always attracts me, but also just an interesting composition or just whatever. I don't always know what grabs me, but it has to appeal to me, and then I work from there. I really like the long view most. I like getting the distance. But I didn't know it until we did this project when we went to the Powderhorn. We were in a marsh, which I don't paint marshes. I'm not by it. I don't go there. It's just not my thing. And so when we were there, I was really intrigued and had a lot of fun doing that. Well, I got to tell you something. When I'm from Richmond, Virginia originally. I was born there, and I moved to Texas when I was 18. And the first thing that struck me about Texas, and always fascinated me, was this big sky. Because Virginia's got lots of big, tall trees and mountains. You just don't see landscapes where the sky goes from here to here, and you're like, whoa. And that, since I've been 18, has always fascinated me and always intrigued me. So if I don't like a sky, I'll just move one in. That one doesn't work, I'll put one I like in. That's the beauty of being an artist. I think, to get light, you have to have the opposite. So you just are just pairing it against the darks, and then you get light, And I like, using those warm, yummy colors, and so kind of works out. I do prepare the panels, and there's several reasons why I do that. But I gesso them, and I use a gator board, and I gesso it top to bottom and all along the sides, so it's completely sealed. And then I get a matte gel medium and that has pumice in it, and I add more pumice, and I mix it up with a little water and get it the right consistency, and then I brush it on, and it leaves brush strokes, in the surface. And there are disadvantages to that at times, but it works well for landscape. I don't think it would be a great thing if you wanted to do something real fine work, like a portrait maybe that you wanted to have really, but for landscapes it's great because you can add texture and you could have like one color like kind of built into it, or that's sunk into it, and then you can just scrum over and then you get that texture shows up. And when I want to get rid of the texture, I just smooth it out, and that works too. So I kind of get the best of both worlds. So that's why I do that. Well, actually, oil painters can do the same thing by building up a medium underneath their painting, and then you can see brushstrokes in it that aren't really brushstrokes. They're just from previous levels. It's the oddest thing. I really am much more attracted to oil painters. My heroes are definitely all oil painters. But I think I just do better. I'm better at it than I am at the oils. The oils, there's all that mixing, and I don't know. And I think I didn't want to waste oil, so they kept telling me, you need to put more paint down. I don't know. It just didn't. I do better with pastels, and I like the immediacy of it. I don't have to wait for it to dry, or worried is it tacky, or it's just always ready to go no matter what. You can stop wherever you're at and just and also it's easier to change something if you don't like it, particularly on the board that I use. That's another reason I use my own board that has a lot more texture, because if I were using sanded paper like most pastel artists do, if I took a brush to brush off something I didn't like, a lot would come off. And I like building layers. And so with the board that I use, I can just lightly touch it and it'll just take it off layer by layer. I don't have to take everything off. And a lot of times I'll use a brush on purpose to just pull stuff off and get the underneath and kind of create grasses and things like that. So the digital images of pastels can be very deceptive, I think. Sometimes it almost feels like they are photographing, the layers don't do this. They're just not the same. When you see it in person, you're like, oh, that's what it looks like. I think that artists that are the most sure of themselves are usually when you're beginning, because you don't know any better. So once you know what you're doing, you're like, oh, there's so much I don't know. So that's kind of where I'm at, I think. That there's so much beauty out there. And we got to protect it as much as we can. And that's going to be the theme for the book, is conservation ranches. It's private people, and we need to appreciate them and appreciate the land that they're preserving. When we were at the Powderhorn, it was really rainy a lot, but it wasn't raining the whole time. So we were able to get some pretty cool stuff. In a way, it kind of helped it because it wasn't raining at sunset, so there had been rain clouds, and so you got some really cool stuff going on in the sky. So that was fun. But you always have to worry about the elements and stuff. Like, I know one of the trips to X-Bar was really cold in the morning, and we weren't prepared for that, so that wasn't fun. Lesson learned there, be prepared. But anyway, I think that's the biggest thing is trying to deal with weather. I came to this gallery when it was William Reeves' gallery, before it wasn't even on this location, and then Sarah came, and then it was Bill and Sarah, and then now it's Sarah after Bill retired, and it's just been a wonderful home for me. I've always loved it. It's just gratitude for Foltz Gallery doing this show for us and being so willing to, we just mentioned it. We didn't have to talk her into it or anything. It was just like, yeah, let's do that. So I would say that to thank everybody here at Foltz, because they're wonderful. And also I'm very grateful to the families, because they did not have to be that accommodating. They treated us like royalty. It was crazy. We're like, no, don't do so much. We're fine. No, we're gonna. So that is something I'm really grateful for.